I hope you have your Tupperware because we're not about to have any aluminum foil to save our food.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful, but it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
While that might sound a little dramatic, according to the Commerce Department, Canada accounted for 3.8 million or 56% of aluminum product imports to the United States for domestic consumption, while the European Union imported nearly 158,000 tons of aluminum, primary and alloy, from Canada between January and November last year, or only 2.9% of its needs. It sounds like the United States is very dependent on Canada for more than just what is being advertised.
If the goal of the tariffs is to encourage more domestic production of primary aluminum, you have to remember that the production of aluminum is very electricity intensive. To start a new smelter or restart one of the old ones, it would consume about as much electricity as the entire city of Cleveland. Then if you want to talk about matching the amount of aluminum that gets imported from Canada, that's the equivalent of 4 Hoover dams worth of electricity. So if you want to restart domestic aluminum production, you've got to solve the electricity problem.
What do you say to consumers who are worried about prices, sir?
Oh, I don't think you're going to. No, you're going to ultimately have a price reduction because they're going to make their steel here. There's not going to be any tariff. These foreign companies will move to the United States, will make their steel and aluminum in the United States. Ultimately, it'll be cheaper, but we'll also have jobs. Many, many more jobs.
The president saw the premier, Doug Ford, make an egregious and insulting comment threatening to shut down electricity for the American people, for hardworking American families. He made that threat. The president saw that and has an obligation and a responsibility to respond accordingly and represent the interests of the American people. So he has made the decision to add a 25% tariff. So now steel and aluminum tariffs will come into effect tomorrow at the rate of 50%.
Ford F-Series has been the single greatest selling truck in the United States of America for 45 years. It has a military-grade aluminum shell for a body, one of its great features. That's the good news. The bad news is you simply cannot make enough aluminum in the States for those trucks. You don't have the bauxite or the affordable electricity necessary to turn bauxite into alumina. We do. We have enormous surpluses of aluminum. But the current tariff drives up the cost for Ford to make those trucks, which makes it harder for them to produce trucks made by America, and ultimately drives up the cost of those trucks for electricians in Ohio, miners in Appalachia, and energy workers in Texas. Get rid of that tariff and you lower the cost of trucks for working class Americans, and you increase production of those vehicles.
Well, would you look at this? Apparently the United States is facing a shortage of aluminum. And the reason for this is a few things. Trump's 50% tariffs on aluminum is part of the reason. The war in the Middle East is also disrupting supply chains. And the rest of the world's suppliers of aluminum, the ones that are still running, are unable to fill in the gap. A shame about that problem you have, Americans. You know who would love to help right now? Canada. We're right next door. We can help you out. We could even let you put 50% tariffs on your own consumers. How about it? I feel like that's a good deal. It's a good deal. I don't know what you think. It's a great deal. We'll let you put 50% tariffs on your own consumers. Just call us. We just want to help. That's all it is.
Are we winning yet? Are we winning yet?
I have always felt that tariffs are their own punishment, and I still don't understand why Americans want to punish the consumers of aluminum when you get 60% of it from Canada. It's also a product that Americans can't produce themselves. You don't have bauxite, so there is no way to have a homegrown aluminum industry. So we're kind of scratching our heads.
Mr. Speaker, the American tariffs, the new tariffs on steel and aluminum, are unlawful, unjustified, and illogical. I agree with the member. And that is one of the reasons why we have retaliatory tariffs on over $90 billion worth of U.S. goods. We are in intensive negotiations with the Americans and in parallel preparing reprisals if those negotiations do not succeed.
Our relationship with the United States, as is the case with everyone else in the world, has fundamentally changed. And we recognize that. We've recognized that from the start. We were in a process of a long period that started in the mid-1980s, from the first free trade agreement with the U.S., where Canada and the U.S. were coming closer and closer together. That process is over. Okay. So we are in a position where our deal, our current deal with the United States, and we do have a deal with the United States, is the best deal of any country in the world. It's not as good as it was. It won't get back to what it was, because we've learned a lesson as Canadians of the dangers, the downside of that close integration. But our situation can be better than it is today, and that's what we're negotiating hard for.
The reason why the United States has become the most powerful nation in the world is because we have very powerful friends, okay? The United States has relationships with other countries that last literally hundreds of years, namely with Canada, Mexico, and the UK, okay? With a single president, in under 3 months, we have already threatened to annex Canada. We have threatened to send drones into Mexico. And we're claiming that Europe has never done anything for the United States, okay? We don't have allies anymore. All of our former allies are teaming up together to figure out what to do without us, okay? And if you think that America is so rich, so powerful, that we could never fail, that we could never fall, you are sadly mistaken.
So family, Canada, America's longest time ally and largest trading partner, is increasingly looking toward Europe for aluminum exports. And some MAGA supporters are not taking it well. And after years of calling for tougher trade policies, tariffs, and even economic nationalism, many are now discovering that other countries don't simply sit around waiting for America's approval. And now let's get into what is really happening and why this story matters far beyond aluminum, family. Now, when most people hear the word aluminum, they probably don't think of politics. They think of soda cans, airplanes, cars, construction materials, and even everyday products. But aluminum is one of the most important industrial metals in the modern economy, family. And so Canada happens to be one of the world's largest producers of high-quality aluminium, and for decades the United States has been one of its biggest customers. Now, the relationship was simple, family. Canada produced, America bought, and both sides benefited. But over the last several years, trade tensions have repeatedly strained that relationship. Tariffs, threats of tariffs, and increasingly hostile political rhetoric have created uncertainty. Businesses really hate uncertainty, family, and investors as well hate uncertainty. Trade partners hate uncertainty, and when a country repeatedly signals that it may become a difficult customer, suppliers naturally begin looking for alternatives, and that's exactly what appears to be happening, family. Europe has become an increasingly attractive market for Canadian producers. European countries need industrial materials. They are investing heavily in manufacturing and even infrastructure, and many companies are actively diversifying their supply chains. Now, from a business perspective, family, selling aluminium to Europe is not some emotional decision. It's not an act of revenge. It's a market decision. Companies go where the customers are and where the business environment feels stable. And yet, some MAGA commentators have reacted as if Canada has committed some kind of betrayal. The outrage reveals something fascinating about how economic nationalism is often discussed. And for years, many politicians and even commentators argued that America should prioritize its own interests first. They say that the countries should expect America to put itself before everyone else. But when another country starts doing exactly the same thing, looking after its own economic interests, the reaction suddenly changes, family. And now think about the message being sent. If America is allowed to seek better deals, negotiate aggressively, impose tariffs, and even redirect trade relationships, Why shouldn't Canada be allowed to do the same? And so if economic self-interest is considered patriotic in Washington, why is it viewed as hostile when it comes from Ottawa? Now, the reality is that trade relationships are built on trust. When businesses believe a market is reliable, they invest. When they believe a market may become unstable or unpredictable, they reduce their dependence on it. And that's not politics, family. That's basic economics. Canadian producers are making calculations based on risk, based on opportunity, and future growth. Now, European buyers are making calculations based on supply security. Nobody is obligated to keep all their eggs in one basket. Now, what's really interesting is how this story challenges the narrative that America always holds on the leverage. And for decades, many Americans have been seen and told that the world needs America far more than America needs the world. But globalization works both ways, family. Every major economy has alternatives, every supplier have alternatives, and every customer has alternatives. Now, when relationships become strained, family, people start exploring those alternatives. And that's why this story is generating such strong reactions. It's not really about aluminium. Aluminium is just the symbol. And what people are reacting to is the realization that allies have options. Canada has options. Europe has options. Businesses have options. And the global economy is interconnected in ways that make simple versus them, us versus them narrative, which is much harder to sustain. Now, none of this means that America is doomed or that Canada is abandoning the United States, family. Far from it. The two countries remain deeply connected economically, culturally, and geographically. They will continue doing enormous amounts of business together. But what it does mean is that actions have consequences, family. Trade threats have consequences. Political uncertainty have consequences. Market response to incentives, not emotions. Now, for years, some MAGA supporters celebrated a more confrontational approach to international trade. They argued that America should be tougher and more aggressive. And what they're seeing now is the other side of that equation, family. When you apply pressure, other countries adapt. And when you signal unpredictability, partners diversify. And when you tell allies that they need America more than America needs them, some of those allies start proving that they have other options. Perhaps the biggest lesson here is that respect is in international relationships cannot be demanded. It has to be maintained. And so strong partnerships survive when both sides see value in the relationship. And the moment one side starts assuming that the other has nowhere else to go, reality tends to deliver a reminder. And so Canada's aluminium shipments to Europe are one of those reminders. And for many observers, family, the real irony is impossible to ignore. The same movement that championed economic nationalism is now upset that another country is practicing its own version of economic self-interest. And that's why this story is attracting so much attention. It isn't simply about metal exports. It's about power. It's about expectations, global competition, and the realization that in today's world, every country has choices.